Again, nothing different today. We're going to discuss a little how to do this again and some ways to make this a little bit easier. And then we're going to have one more part after this that we're going to add before we get into a review and do the unit exam come Friday. So we got a few days to work with here. That will be the last unit test that we have. We will have one more quiz right towards the end before we start doing review stuff and things like that. But this is kind of where we're at. So diamonds, just a reminder, chart definitely comes in handy. The green one that's over in the folder from last week, if you still need one, they're over there, or if you've misplaced yours. But diamonds, basically, we've got one general kind of rule with these. When we're doing these, we're multiplying to get the number on top. We're adding to get the number on the bottom. And where do I get these from? Well, for instance, here, if I were to have an example of where I would be grabbing my numbers from, let's say I had something like x squared minus 10x plus 21. The multiply number is always the number that's on the end that doesn't have a variable. Okay, we're always going to try to find two numbers that multiply to get the number on the end, but yet they add to get the coefficient or the number in front of my x in the middle. It's always going to be those two values that I'm working with. Now, yes, sir? No. It's always going to be whatever signs I see here are signs that I'm going to have to work with. And that can change the way that I have to look at things a little bit. So we're going to do several of these because, again, the notes we did on Friday, so we don't have to do notes, so I actually get me to start doing some homework problems with you here. But it's going to be all about the multiplication part. That's where life gets easier and more difficult. And some of you will get to a point that you don't even need the diamond. You're going to be able to mentally do this. But for the first few, let's say, so let's say I get here to 29, and I go, okay, make my diamond guy here. I'm multiplying to get the number on the end, and adding, paying attention to the sign that's in front of what's going to go from the middle. So I've got to find two numbers that take care of both of those blanks for me. So we'll see how this works. So now let's say I'm sitting here and I'm not even going to worry so much about the negative right away, but I need some numbers that multiply to get 15. Well, my first option should always be 1 in the number. It's just the way this works. What are two other numbers that I can multiply to get 15? 3 and 5. And here's why it's important to kind of think through all the different possible combinations. Remember, these two numbers are going to multiply to get negative 15. Now let's think about just that for a minute. If I'm going to multiply a number to get a negative, what's that tell me about the signs? It tells me one of them is going to be a negative number, and one of them is going to be a positive, because negative times positive is negative. So I've got these little clues that are helping me here. So if I look at these, I need a pair of numbers that I can add or subtract to get 2. Well, I don't think I can do that with 1 and 15, but I can do that with 3 and 5. So the only question left is, which one's negative and which one's positive? Well, let's think about it. If I want the number to come out positive, the bigger number better be positive. Yeah. So positive 5 and negative 3, but I'm not quite done. To get it into its factored form, I just take my variable, I put it first, and then I just copy the numbers from the sides. So negative 3, positive 5, I'm factored. And that'll help me when I'm solving, and it can help me in several other ways when we're working through problems like this. But that's it. That's all we're doing with these. So let's say I move to the next one. And again, let's just kind of work on some of the clues that are involved here and see how we can make this work. So I want two numbers that multiply to negative 27 and add up to negative 6. Now let's do a little detective work before we start here. multiply to get a negative. Again, that tells me the signs are going to be one of each. I also know, since this is a negative, the negative has to be the bigger number, because when I add them up, I want the answer to come out negative. So that's a lot of stuff to know already. So 27, I'll always start with 1 in the number. What else can I multiply to get 27? 3 and 9, good. And if I wasn't sure of that, I could always find 27 in my chart, and if I follow that to the edges, well, 3 times 9. Okay, so 3 and 9. I need to be able to add or subtract to get to 6. 1 and 27, that ain't going to work. Can I make 3 and 9 get to 6? I think so. And we already said the bigger number's got to be negative. Negative 9 plus 3. I owe somebody $9. I pay him 3 back. I owe him 6. That works. Negative times positive is negative. Awesome. So x is a minus 9 and a plus 3. And I'm good. Now, it may not always be something that comes out real nice and clean and easy. So let's move along here a little. Let's go over to 32. Shift over a little bit here. I'm going to do one more with the diamond, then let's see if we can try one without it and see how we do with it. So multiply to negative 42 and add to negative 1. All right, let's see what we know this time. What do we know about the signs of our two numbers? Well, if they're going to multiply to get a negative, what does that tell me? What's it told me on the last two problems we've done that have come up with negatives? Okay, one's going to be negative and one's going to be positive, because when we're multiplying, negative times positive is negative, and if they're the same sign, I get positive. So I know that much, and I know since they're going to add up to a negative, that the negative has to be bigger. Okay, so I know a couple of things. So let's see here. 42. Okay, 1 and 42. Any other options here? Let's see. Here's 42. So 3 and 14. Let's see. Do I have any others? There's a 42. Let me move this down a little bit. 6 and 7. Okay. Are any of those close enough where if I add or subtract, I get to 1? 6 and 7 are. And we already know that the bigger number has to be negative. So 7 and 6. If I owe somebody $7, I pay him 6 back. I only owe him 1. Negative times positive is negative. So it is. You're sort of doing some mathematical detective work here. My variable's n, so I'll use that. Then I just copy what I see. And it doesn't matter which order they're in. Like if I put n plus 6 and then n minus 7, that's okay. It's the same answer. But let's change this up a little bit here. Let's see. My gosh, I put negatives on all of them. What was I doing? What was I thinking? I wasn't. Okay. Let's go over to the other side for a minute. We will come back here. You're like, whoa, what's this stuff? Write the expression for the area of each figure. Okay. When I'm looking for area, area is length times width. So anywhere that I see a plus or a minus on this side, I'm going to put parentheses anytime I see plus or minus. Because what's going to happen here is that I need to multiply the two sides together. So if I get something like this, I'm not just going to write that as my area. I'm literally going to distribute that through. And this is going to sort of take us back and do a review of some other things we did recently. So what's 2x times x going to be? 2x to the second, because when I'm multiplying, I add the exponents together. And then 2 times negative 3 is negative 6x. That would be my area. Okay, I do need to multiply it out. No, I do not have to have the 1 there. And I don't have to have it in either of these spots either. Sometimes it just helps me to remember that I've got to add those to get the answer. Now if you have 2 sets of parentheses, and again, order's not going to matter here, I could either FOIL this out, or if some of you are fans of being able to see things, and if you're not, and you want to go ahead and FOIL, do that, and then we'll see if we both get the same answer. And again, I only put the 1s on these just to remind me that when I'm multiplying, I'm going to add exponents together. But make sure you multiply your coefficients. So 6 x to the second. Negative 5 times 2 is negative 10. And I just have an x. There's no others to add to it. But again, you're multiplying the coefficients and adding any exponents. And once I've filled in the box by multiplying, now I'm just combining like terms. So I start here at the beginning, I go, okay, I only see one thing that has x squared, so I'll write that down. These two both have just x though. Again, combining like terms is adding and subtracting. 12x take away 10 gives me 2, and then I have the minus 20 left over. Again, that would be my area. One more. Number 50, and then I'll see if there's any others that you want to take a peek at here on the front before I let you do your thing here. And again, some of you still got Fridays to be working on, so you kind of can get some work time in to just get those done and out of the way, get your points. Yeah. Uh-huh. Yep. So here I've got 3x minus 2, and again, some of you are not fans of my box. So here's what I'll do. We'll FOIL this one out, but if you like the box, do the box. We'll see if you get the same thing. So I've got my first terms here. 3 times 3 is 9. X and x, 1 plus 1 is 2. I do my outer. 3 times negative 2 is negative 6x. Negative 2 times 3 still is negative 6x. And negative times negative is positive. And again, there's my little smiley faced guy to make sure I did this right. And the only terms that are alike for me to put together are my x's. So I start with my 9x squared, negative 6 and negative 6. It's negative 12x plus 4. Are there any that look, okay, any others that are immediately looking like they're going to be giving you some issues as far as anything on either side? Sure.